Welcome back. Today we're digging into Chapter 71 of Bibliomancers. Ever wonder what would happen if an author tried to have a simple chat with one of their own characters? Well, things get complicated, and they get complicated fast. We're about to see what happens when that line between creator and creation gets a little fuzzy. Okay, so let's get right into it. The chapter kicks off with our author, Rose. She decides to try a really direct, and maybe a little bit weird, way to communicate with a character from her story, The Slutty Princess. So how does she do it? She literally just stares out into the void and yells, "Dragon!" Yeah. And this is where the fun begins, because it sets off this series of just hilariously frustrating wrong numbers. Turns out, the interdimensional switchboard for fictional characters, not super reliable. So first contact. She actually gets a dragon on the line, but oh man, it is not the right one. And this guy isn't just a wrong number, he is incredibly grumpy about being woken up. Right off the bat, this dragon just lays into her, accusing her of being a telemarketer. And then, when Rose mentions the title of her story, The Slutty Princess, well, he just jumps to a pretty wild conclusion. He's convinced she's a pornographer trying to sell him her sick sexual fantasies. I mean, what a first impression, right? And you think it can't get any worse? Oh, it does. When Rose admits she never actually gave her dragon a name, the dragon she's talking to is just appalled. He takes it as the ultimate sign of a lazy writer and just starts tearing her skills apart. So yeah, this dragon, whose name we finally learn is New, gives her a whole list of, let's call it, feedback. He says her writing is lazy, calls her an idiot, and even suggests that someone should take away her pen and give her crayons. And get this, after she mentions maybe using a kraken in a future story, he doubles down, convinced she's a tentacle porn author. You just can't make this stuff up. After all that, after this truly bizarre and insulting chat, No actually offers up one single piece of useful advice, even if he delivers it as rudely as possible. He tells Rose that if she wants to find her specific dragon, she needs to call out using the main character's name too. All right, on to the next attempt. After taking a well-deserved break for a cup of tea, Rose tries again. This time, she uses the nickname of her main character, which, you guessed it, leads to another wrong number. Rose calls out for the slutty princess dragon, and the dragon who answers immediately shuts her down. He thinks she's offering him a role in an adult novel. This, we learn, is Magnum, and it seems he's got a very specific reputation in the industry. And this is where it all makes sense. The source of all the confusion? It turns out another author used the exact same title for a completely different kind of book. See, Rose's story is a clever take on fantasy tropes and morality. Magnum's story was, well, a literal porn novel where he was apparently the victim. Before hanging up, though, Magnum just can't resist giving Rose some writing advice of his own. I mean, he's apparently worked in the dragon and virgin genre a lot, so he questions her for using what he thinks is a tired, cliché opening. The irony is just off the charts. Okay. Third time's the charm. Rose finally refines her search. She learns from her mistakes, gets specific, and calls out for Princess Maria's dragon. And at last, she gets through to the right one. And wow, the difference is like night and day. This dragon is a fan. He knows exactly who she is and starts praising her work immediately. He makes it very clear that he is not Magnum and that he found her story to be incredibly refreshing, especially for one particular reason. So they start talking about this one particular fantasy trope that Rose deliberately avoided using: transformation. You know, the one where the big magical creature turns into a human, usually for a romantic subplot. And this part is brilliant because it shows us the in-universe consequences of that trope from the character's point of view. Her dragon gives this fascinating meta-commentary on the actual physical cost of that trope. He explains that transforming is excruciatingly painful, like having his whole body compressed. He says it leaves him so heavy and dense that he can barely even move. He was just so relieved her story didn't put him through that. It's such a powerful reminder that the plot devices we use have real consequences inside the logic of the worlds we built. Their chat just blossoms from there. It turns into this fantastic author-character collaboration. They talk about how great it was that the lawful good paladin was actually the villain, And they both agree that rigid moral alignments can be really harmful. The dragon is absolutely thrilled when he finds out he's going to have a big role in the sequel. So as their conversation wraps up, the dragon asks if she's going to invite him over to see her town. Rose points out the obvious logistical problem. She's in a tiny bookstore room, and he's, a full-size dragon. But his response is what leads to the profound final point of the chapter. The dragon reminds her of this simple, powerful fact that she seems to have completely forgotten in the middle of their chat. In the world of the story, and in the space between their worlds, she's the author. She's the one with ultimate control over all the rules. And that's the thought this chapter really leaves us with. It starts as this simple, funny attempt to talk to a character, and it ends up questioning the very nature of creation. It's just a fascinating look at the relationship between an author and the beings they bring to life. Thanks for digging into this one with me.